YouTube. Hope everyone out there is staying safe. Wanted to do a quick video, had a little project come up. My wife wanted me to build a slide board or a transfer board for a gentleman at a care facility. Pretty easy to make. It's basically just a board. This is a kind of an example. I had traced off one of her existing ones off a piece of cardboard. I am going to take some scraps that I have and do the best I can just to get something free for somebody. If you guys are looking to do some cheap, easy projects, I like to throw out some recommendations when I have them. I mean, a lot of people from your projects, you got cutoffs. What I do land surveying, and I'm on job sites all the time, and there are dumpsters full of cutoffs from houses being built. Ask permission first. But there is a ton of free wood. Usually it's broken stuff, maybe it's been exposed to the weather, but if you can find a dry dumpster that they've been throwing wood in and they're willing to let you take some of it, have at it. Like I said, ask permission. But let's get to it. And little shop update. Well, still not in the shop, still in the basement doing some work. Got a new piece of equipment. Got a great deal at a pawn shop at a mobile base for my chop saw. Really wanted one of those for a while. Probably during a project, you've probably seen, I think I videoed it. Yep. I was probably sitting on the floor doing it. My knees hurt. I'm tired of that. So nice Ridgid mobile base. Gotta say, I'm in love with it so far. And let's get back to the project. All right, so the slide board that I copied or traced off of happened to be 9 inches across, 26 inches long. My wife actually doesn't want me doing the handholds because apparently a lot of the patients end up getting their hands stuck in them. So I'm going to not do those, but anything that worth doing once is worth doing twice. So might as well try and do 2 of these since I had enough scrap left over. Had just a nominal piece of 2x10 here left over. Before I go ahead and cut this though, just in its longer form, I'm going to run this out to the building. It's dark out there right now, so I probably am not going to film that, but I'm going to plane this thing down a little bit, and then we will be back in. Alright, ran out, got this board planed down to about 1 inch thick, maybe a hair under. The only thing, we had to take some cup out of this. This board was cupped over a little bit. Now we're sitting nice and flat. The only thing I'm going to have to be mindful of is, like I said, this is going to be for a patient sliding on it, is depending on how I cut these, any of these voids, I'm going to have to wood putty these in before I finish it, just to make sure nobody gets snagged on an edge. Got these marked off, like I said, 26 inch. I'm going to go ahead and get this board cut. Board's cut down to size. Next thing we have to do is, I thinned this down already to 1 inch, but so I went ahead and already made marks. So each end of this, the purpose of the board is, as I'll show you real quick here, is basically, the person in the wheelchair is so they can slide over to a bed. So what I need to do is thin down one end of it. So basically I already drew a line on. In this case, I came in all the way up to 6 inches from the edge, brought it, the full width down to, I think I measured it was 3/8 is what I'm leaving here. After we're all done with this, I will obviously router it. It's all going to be about routering and sanding this thing until it's super smooth. I'm going to have to fill that in with a little bit of filler because, like I said, someone's going to be sliding across this. Last thing I can have them doing is catching a splinter. So, yeah. So, one of the things that I definitely need to get in my shop is an actual bandsaw. Don't have one. So, the way we're going to do this is a little more hokey because got to be really safe about it. But I have my 6-inch joiner and took the guard off of it. I know, faux pas. But what we're going to do is have this board on here and keep running it over here and working up to that line. I'm going to have it set to where I'm taking very minimal amount of material off there, so that way it doesn't want to grab it and fire it out. So let's be careful. And that thins that down real nice from the 3/8 back to the original 1 inch. 1 inch back down to 3/8. Next thing I'm going to do, get the little palm router, go over this thing with a 1/4 inch round over, soften up all these edges before we start hitting it with the sander. Alright guys, always like to throw out my little words of wisdom when I think of them too. I always said I'd do that. Don't be a hero. I know everybody always talk about wearing your personal protective equipment. Simple things. I've ruined a lot of woodwork by trying to be a hero and not using clamps. Clamp it down, especially when you're routering around. I mean, in this case, I'm only taking a little trim off the edge, but you never know when it might catch a knot. Just want to spin the piece on you, either hit you, hurt you, or just mess up your piece, and nobody wants to waste the wood. So clamp it down. All right, that rounds over all the edges real nice, softens them up. Now, for where I have this lip from running it on the joiner, I'm going to bring somebody to the party that I call Sally the Sander. And say hello to Sally. Sally is overkill for this project, big time, but I haven't used her in a little while, and I want to get the wheels spinning, and also I just want this to go really fast. So I'm going to go ahead and use this, like I said, on just making sure that this thing's pretty flat. Open it up before I start actually just using my random orbital on all the other stuff. And everyone's favorite thing to do last before putting a finish on, just hitting it with the finish sander. Got a Ridgid 5-inch random orbital sander here. I'm going to start at a 120 and work my way up to 180. And I think we got, what, 220, a 320, and then a 400. If you guys haven't used them yet, these are your big box stores. These Diablo ones, though, but they started doing these actual sanding nets. And I gotta say, so far, I've loved them. I gotta finish getting the rest of them and all the other grits, but they do an awesome job, and they stay clean. They pass through really well. Yeah, been loving them. Alright, I got this sanded up to 120 right now. Before I go any further, what I want to do is I want to take whatever kind of wood filler you got. In this case, I got some of this plastic wood. I'm going to fill in anywhere where I got these knots. And then on the other side, when I was planing this down, I found a spot where it must have had little grub of some kind or something that was in the wood, so I got that to fill and a couple other knots here. I just don't want there being any catching points on this wood, so I'm going to go ahead and fill that in and wait for it to dry. Alright, let that putty dry overnight. Let it dry for a whole 24 hours. Time to go back over it again with the 120 again, and like I said, we're going to take this all the way up to 400, so let's get back to it. All right, everything's sanded up to 120 right now. Before I go any further, I like to actually use a hand block and a piece of paper on all my edges, actually. Something to give it a nice actual contour. I mean, I had already routed the edges, but I like to take sanding block. In this case, this one's already seen better days. But what's nice is that you can cup it and get a nice shape to it. So I just take a piece of paper, and it just helps give it a nice contour just going all around it. So I'm going to go over that, do that, and on to the next. All right, as you can see right there, like I said, with that block, you just can't beat it. Just really, I cut my nails. Really softens up that edge, because like I said, the point of this is when somebody slides across this, not wanting them to catch any kind of edge. So that just really smooths it up. All right, now we're done with the 120. Let's go up to 180 and so and so. And there you have it. One super duper 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 smooth piece of wood. Like I said, it's a transfer board for helping out someone slide from their wheelchair onto a bed or other flat surface. Next step is my old favorite, usually pretty much just a regular clear shellac. If you guys are new, something I always do. Make a little dauber ball, keep it in a glass jar, label it. I haven't made a new one of these in almost going on a year now. Stuff just lasts forever. Of course, I can't open it up. Year old, still can still hear the liquid. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that opened up and get that applied. And there you have it, the finished product. I went ahead and touched it up with about some 1000 grit sandpaper just to put a nice glide on the surface of it with the shellac. But this project's all done. If you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe. And yeah, I need to get back on actually putting some of these up a lot sooner here. And also the weather needs to break so I can get the mill going again. But I will talk to you guys soon.